one rod to rule them all. What's going on, man? Yeah, I was going to go out and make some fishing videos today, get out on the water, but it's raining. It's supposed to start snowing. That ain't really going to work. So I figured, I've had a couple of questions throughout, videos I've made about what rods that I'm using or what rod that I'm using in certain videos. So I figured I'd go through and give that answer, talk about what rods I'm using. And then I wanted to give a comparison of what rod I think is the most bang from the buck out of that series. And if you look at any of mine, you pretty much know that I use St. Croix. I started out using like some Abu Garcia Vengeance rods. I used Fenwick rods. I went through the luge run, went different luge rods, ended up with like the TB Black or TP Black, the Tournament Pro Black, and a couple other variations of them, and they were good, but they didn't really like the luge ones. They just felt real stiff. There wasn't a lot of touch there, wasn't a lot of feel. The Fenwicks were really good. I really enjoyed the Fenwicks, but they just seemed like they didn't really have as much strength, but still really good rods. The Abus were pretty good, but again, they didn't have that sensitivity. And I started looking around, and everybody was like, what the best rods were, and people were saying, oh, you got to go with G. Loomis, or you got to go with the St. Croix, and there was a couple other ones. And I even used one I really liked for a while. I was getting into the Cast King. I had two Cast King rods. I still have it over there. I gave it to my son as the Cast King Speed Dipping Pro, and I thought that was a really good rod until I got the St. Croix. Now, the St. Croix, just right off the bat, it was an obvious difference for me whenever I started using them. The sensitivity on them, being able to feel things, I was blown away. And the weight and how light they were and how strong they were, it was pretty much a go for me. So I've pretty much ran through, and I've had the Bass X, I've had the Mojo, I had the Avid X, and I have the Legend Tournament Bass. And so what I usually use, if I have let's start with that. I had the Bass X, and it was really good, and I liked it. And then I had to say, okay, do I step up to what is it really worth going from $110 for a Bass X to $140 for the Bass Mojo? And everybody said yes. And to me, I was like, is it just cosmetics? Because they do look a little better. You get a little bit more of that shiny gloss resin look. But I think if you actually look on there, you go from like an SC2 blank to an SC3 blank on the Mojo, so you do get a little bit better blank. I felt like there's a little bit more stiff sensitivity and strength there, but that's just me. I think they both use like an aluminum oxide guides. I think it's still Fuji, but I think they're like an aluminum. And I went with the best, and I had it on the cast, and now I still have, I bumped up to it, and I thought it was really worth the money. So I still have 3 Bass Mojos. I have 3 of them in spinning. Now I did have one for my topwater, and then I switched that up into a Tournament Legend, or Legend Tournament, or however you want to do it. But these are still really good rods. $140. I can't say enough about them. The sensitivity, I use one for a drop shot rod. I use another one for my Texas rig, all my, weightless plastics and everything. And then I do have a medium heavy I use for spinning, for just odd, odds ends, different little things that, might come up. I feel like I need that little extra strength when I'm doing something like a weighted Texas rig or something like that, and I'll use that. But yeah, mostly these are my, these, I think I've got a medium heavy over there, 7 foot, and then I've got 2 6'10" medium fasts. And again, I use these for like my really light lures and my drop shot rig, and really good. And then I had the opportunity, and I stepped up, and a friend of mine was selling a Legend Tournament, or Tournament Legend, and I got it. And to me, it was night and day. I really was like, wow. And again, but the price jump. You go from, again, a Bass X is $110, $140 for a Mojo, and then I think the Avid is $240, and then it's like $300 for the Legend. And I got, let's start there. So I went and I also got an Avid X, and this one is probably like I think a 6'8", medium heavy, fast St. Croix Avid X. It looks pretty much the same as the Tournament Pro and the Mojo. But if you read on there, I think you step it up. I think you still have an SC3 blank on the Avid X. I could be wrong. I haven't looked in a long time, but I think then it switches up. You have the smaller guides, and I thought they were both. I think you have stainless steel on the Avid X, where I think the Legend has maybe titanium or a different type of improved metal. So because you do have a different mod. Now they are eyelets on there, and they do have the small one supposed to help with tangled. And to me, man, the Avid X going from the Mojo, that's why I switched up. I went from a Bass Mojo on my top water, and then I got a hold of this one, and I was like, wow, it's a lot better. Because I felt with the Bass X and the Mojo that even though they were strong and sensitive, I thought that they were a little too floppy on the end. So like when I was throwing like a heavier lure, it would just felt like you could kind of feel it kind of wind and kind of flop when you fling. So it felt like you didn't have as much strength or control. And I forgot what it is, but I know they improve. They do some improvements. I think they have a different type of resin or something that they put on the Avid X compared to the Mojo. I think they use the same blank, but I think they add a little bit more technology to it. And I thought it was wow. I was like, man, is it worth $240 compared to $140? I would think so, because like I said, let's see, for instance, I threw an umbrella rig, which is weighing about 1.5 ounces, maybe 2 ounces. And on the Bass Mojo, I was afraid I was going to snap it. There was just so much flex at the end that I was like, oh man, I got to be careful with that. And then I threw it on the Avid X, and there wasn't that issue. I felt that extra strength, but I still have that sensitivity. So now I use this one. This is pretty much my multi-purpose rod. I throw this on the Avid X's for when I'm doing things like jigs or, different like crankbaits and everything. So I have this is a, I think a 6.8, oh, 6.3. This is a 6.3 Daiwa SV that I have on here, Tatula SV, and I use this for like cranks and like jigs and different multi-purpose things. And I was utterly impressed. Do I think it's better than the Mojo? Yes, definitely. You can put your hands on this, throw some lures on this, and you will know this is different. You do have the improved guides. Like I said, I don't have the casting one anymore because I gifted it to somebody, but you can see there the Mojos uses the aluminum guides. The eyelet material is a little less, and it I don't think that the eyelets were micro eyelets like you have here. If you look at these, they are really small eyelets, but they're small all the way down. They're about the same size. So that's when you went to the Tournament Pro. Now, I will say, I think the Tournament Pro, I don't remember the actual words. I think you have a completely different blank. You have a tapering technology where the eyelets, I believe on this one, it's either titanium or it was another type of metal, but it is an improved metal, Fuji eyelets, and you have an improved inside material. Now, I have 2 of these now, and I use one for my, trying to check that out, I got some moss in there. I use one for my top water. Well, I have the 2021. This is an 8-to-1 Daiwa SV, Tatula SV, and I use this for top water. And if you can see there, I'll kind of run down here. These have the improved smaller eyelets, but they use a tapering. So you have a little bit more tapering. As you can see, as we go down there, they're going to get smaller and smaller, where the Avid is just small all the way from the beginning to the end. So you have that tapering. And then I think you have a couple of other things that they actually do to the blank, which it actually does taper down. And I will say that when you go into it, it seems like if you go each time you go from the Bass X to the Mojo to the Avid and to the Tournament Legend or Legend Tournament, you can feel a little bit more control, a little stiffness. The blank feels stronger. It's not as floppy, but you still have that sensitivity. So I would say, like, to me, if I was in a different rod, this felt like, to me, almost like, I swear my friend first got it to me because he thought it was a heavy. And he was like, oh, it's just too stiff. And he liked the real floppy Mojo. And I wanted the strength, but I still wanted the sensitivity. And I got it, and I was like, man, you lost your damn mind. I was like, this thing is really sensitive. You still have that sensitivity in the tip, but you feel strength like on the other rods. It feel like it was like a heavy type strength, but you've still got the sensitivity in the tip. And I was like, man, that is amazing. So I ended up buying another one, and so I have two. If you look at it, I keep the other one. I have it up over there. That's the one I have. Is it Zelon, or whatever you pronounce it. I had somebody ask me that's how you pronounce it. The Daiwa Xeon SV. I have that on there, and that's my all around. I use that for my blades, my spinning, my jackhammers, everything. And that's a 7-to-1. But man, this is all around. This is my go-to. This is the rod for me, is the Tournament Legend. But again, they're like, depending where you get them, they're like $290 to probably like $330. For most people, that is completely out of range. But you can find, every once in a while, you'll find, like I did, you'll find somebody who's like, oh man, I don't like the way that feels, and you end up selling it, and you get yourself a deal on one. And I got a really good deal on my first one, and then it was just all downhill from there. But do you think it's like, hey, if I've got that money, would I say, could you get away with the Avid X over the Legend and still be happy? I would have to say yes. I think now the Avid X and the compared to like the Mojo or the Bass X, is it that much better? I'd say yeah. It's like if you're beginning entry level, and you're just kind of out there, the Bass Mojo and Bass X, in my opinion, can't be beat. Now I know there's some G Loomis, and there's some G Loomis guys out there. It's like, oh, you got to go to the G Loomis. To me, I felt a couple of G Loomises that I used of other people's, and I felt they were pretty comparable. I thought, like, when you get in those range around, it's like between the St. Croix and G Loomis. To me, they were right there. So to me, you're kind of tossing up. It's a brand thing, like Nike and Adidas or something. But this one, I think. But when you're going from the Avid X, I think you still have it. Almost feels the same. You do feel a little bit more strength in the Tournament Pro or the Tournament Legend, but is it? I don't think it's enough for most people to warrant $300. You did the eyelets and eyelets material, I think, are good, but the Avid X it's right there. Like I would easily buy another Avid X. If it was between, I was going to spend that on getting Avid X or that Tournament Pro, I would easily buy another Avid X. To me, they're right there. They're almost completely comparable. If you did a blind test, it would be really hard for somebody to tell the difference. In my opinion, I know you have a different you have all around, like the seating. You have a better as far as your trying to hit anything here. As far as your real lockdowns and everything, you have a better real. I forgot what you call it. It's pretty much a real lock. So we lock it to you have a better materials on there. You have a larger top nut. You do have, compared to like the Avid X and the Mojo, which are approved. The Avid X is approved. You can see there, you got a little different nut, different material. I think these are like you go from. It's a different type of aluminum and coating that you have on here that you can definitely tell the difference. Where I think like the Mojo, a lot of people complain about the seat on that being like it would kind of crack and come loose. I think that's almost like a plastic or aluminum, but it's not as strong as you get on these the top two ones. But yeah, everybody's kind of asking, my main two rods are for the top water. My all-purpose is the Tournament Legend from St. Croix, but the Avid X is the one you see me use a lot too, because to me it's just a toss-up. If I grab one or the other, I'm not missing a beat. So if you've got 230 and you want to know if you should save a little bit more and you see the Avid X, I wouldn't bat an eye, man. I wouldn't second guess at all. They are really good. But the Tournament Legend, I will say you do get a little bit more, but for most people, you really wouldn't notice. Now me, I'm one of those guys where I'm all about to get down to the details and the specifics. So to me, I got to know. So I had to get out there and I tried it, and I love it. And I'd have a whole boat full of them if I could, but it'd be all Avid X and Tournament Pro. That makes sense, man. I'm not trying to confuse. I know there's some fanboys out there that would be like, oh hell no, man, I'm a lose guy, or I'm a Abu, or I'm a G Loomis guy. But for me, looking through it and depending on the cost ratio to quality ratio, I felt that the St. Croix was pretty much at the top for me. They were the ones that I felt like. Even then, I've had friends, and not trying to get a little long here, but I've had friends that have like Fenwicks or other type of rods that they're using. Like again, guys still use Cat King or Favorite. I forgot about that. I used a lot of Favorite Defender, Favorite, some of the higher end Favorite rods, which I thought were really good until I got a hold of these, and I let them all kind of use mine. I was like, here, use this one, and when we're out there fishing, and they grab it and they're like instantly like, what is this? Because the weight to strength ratio on the St. Croix to me it just can't be beat. It's super light, super controlled, and the sensitivity. The first time I got one and pulling it like a jig through there and feeling it just hit everything. I was like, wow, man. And then when I first go smallmouth fishing on the river, where you're doing the little Ned rigs in the current, and you gotta make sure you feel that little tap. I was just slaying them. And the guy that was with me, he's like, how are you doing that? And I was like, man, I can feel everything. And he grabbed a hold of it, and he was like, this isn't even fair, man. You're cheating. But anyways, man, I hope that kind of helps some of those guys that are looking out there on the different St. Croix brands to kind of give you a little insight. Now, again, I'm not really on the technical. I don't remember all the different specs and the blank names and everything, but that's my hands-on opinion review, and I hope it gets you out what you need, man. Until next time, man, thanks for watching. Again, subscribe. And again, hey, man, you'll see this, got an Everything Beast performance gear. See that? It's got the logo on the back and like a shadow detail. If y'all interested in something like this, man, I got people that make these in t-shirts. I can get them. I don't know if anybody would be interested, but if you are, y'all put it in the comments, and I'll start putting links out there, man, if anybody wants to get these. This thing's really nice. Got the little black hoodie. I wear this all the time. Got a lady that makes them for me. So, yeah, it's great. But anyways, let me know, man. All right, man, thanks for watching.